There's a mistake that's costing retirees nearly $900 every single month, and it's happening automatically. No warning, no phone call, just smaller checks. And unless you file these specific forms before August, it keeps going. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what's causing it and how to stop it fast. Let me walk you through the first and most widespread threat: the Windfall Elimination Provision Recalculation Wave. The Windfall Elimination Provision, the WEP, is a formula the Social Security Administration uses to reduce retirement benefits for workers who receive a pension from an employer that did not withhold Social Security taxes. This primarily affects teachers, firefighters, police officers, federal employees hired before 1984, and workers who spent part of their career in government jobs and part in private sector employment. The WEP reduction in 2026 can be as high as $587 per month for a retiree whose entire career was in non-covered employment, or as low as $0 for a retiree who has 30 or more years of substantial earnings under Social Security. Most affected retirees fall somewhere in the middle, an average WEP reduction of between $350 and $500 per month. Now here is what almost no retiree has been told. In January 2024, Congress passed the Social Security Fairness Act, which was signed into law and which eliminated the WEP for most affected retirees. The Social Security Administration began processing those eliminations in early 2025, but the implementation has been uneven. Some retirees have received their full retroactive restoration. Others are still waiting. And a third group, the one I want to focus on right now, has been caught in what the agency is calling a recalculation discrepancy. A recalculation discrepancy happens when the Social Security Administration's records of a retiree's pension history do not match what the retiree actually received. If the agency believes your pension was higher than it actually was, or if they have incorrect records of which years you worked in covered versus non-covered employment, they will calculate a larger WEP reduction than you actually owe. And in some cases, they will recalculate a benefit that was previously restored and reduce it again. This is not theoretical. The Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General flagged this in a 2025 audit report, noting that the agency's pension verification records for state and local government employees are incomplete in 23 states. If you worked in one of those states, your WEP recalculation may be based on incorrect pension data. The states with the highest documented discrepancy rates are California, Texas, Ohio, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Colorado, and Missouri. If you worked in public employment in any of those states and you receive or received a non-covered pension, your benefit is at elevated risk of a recalculation notice arriving before August. The document you need to file to protect against this is Form SSA 7004, the Request for Social Security Statement, combined with a written correction letter to your local Social Security field office that includes your actual pension amount, the name of the pension administrator, and the years of non-covered employment. If the agency's records are wrong, that letter creates the paper trail that stops an incorrect recalculation before it hits your check. I will give you the full filing protocol in the Protection Moves section. But I want you to understand right now, the WEP recalculation wave is not a rumor. It is documented, it is accelerating, and it is landing in August. Now let me walk you through the second threat, the overpayment recovery surge. I have covered the overpayment recovery program before on this channel. The Social Security Administration reinstated full 50% recovery withholding in April of 2025 after a brief pause in 2024. That means the agency can now withhold up to 50% of a retiree's monthly check the moment an overpayment notice is mailed. Not when it is received, not when the 90-day appeal window closes, but the moment it is sent. Here is what is new in 2026. The Social Security Administration confirmed in its March 2026 administrative update that it is processing a backlog of approximately 400,000 overpayment cases that were placed in administrative hold during the 2024 pause. Those cases are now moving through the system. The agency has stated publicly that it expects to clear the majority of that backlog by the end of the third quarter of 2026. which means the period from June through September of 2026 is the highest volume overpayment notice period the agency has seen in 7 years. The average overpayment amount in the cases currently being processed is $8,400. At 50% recovery on a $800 monthly benefit, that creates a $900 per month reduction that lasts for approximately 9 months. There is the $900 per month figure. It is not a headline. It is the math of what a 50% recovery notice does to the average Social Security retirement benefit in the average overpayment case currently in the processing backlog. And here is the part that makes this particularly dangerous for retirees who think they are safe. Many of the overpayment cases in the current backlog do not involve errors the retiree made. They involve internal Social Security Administration calculation errors from 2021 through 2023, when pandemic-era processing disruptions created widespread benefit calculation mistakes. The retiree received the amount the agency sent. The agency now wants it back. And under current policy, the retiree is responsible for repayment regardless of whose error caused the overpayment, unless they successfully file for a waiver. Form SSA 632 is the request for waiver of overpayment recovery. A waiver is granted when the retiree can demonstrate that the overpayment was not their fault and that recovery would cause financial hardship. If you receive an overpayment notice at any point between now and August, filing SSA 632 within 30 days of the notice date is the single most important action you can take. It pauses the recovery while the agency reviews the waiver request. Almost no retiree who receives an overpayment notice knows to file SSA 632 immediately. Most set the notice aside. Most miss the 30-day window that offers the strongest protection. And most end up negotiating from a position of weakness after the 50% withholding has already started. Now let me walk you through the third threat, the one that almost no retiree has been told about because it is hiding inside what was supposed to be good news. The Social Security Fairness Act, signed in January 2024, eliminated the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset for approximately 3.2 million retirees. That is genuinely good news. Many of those retirees have already seen their benefits restored and have received retroactive payments covering months of withheld benefits. But the implementation process created a secondary problem that is now generating incorrect benefit reductions for retirees who did not submit updated income documentation when the agency requested it. Here is what happened. When the Social Security Administration began processing Fairness Act restorations, it sent income verification requests to affected retirees asking them to confirm their current pension amounts, any changes in pension status, and any additional income sources that might affect their benefit calculation. Many retirees did not respond to those requests, either because the letters looked like routine administrative correspondence, because they were mailed to outdated addresses, or because the retirees assumed the restoration would be automatic without any action required on their part. For retirees who did not respond to the verification request, the Social Security Administration made a default assumption. And in many cases, that default assumption was wrong. The agency assumed pension amounts that were higher than actual, which triggered incorrect benefit offset calculations, which are now showing up as benefit reductions in the May through August 2026 payment cycle. If your Social Security benefit amount changed unexpectedly in the last 90 days, if it went down rather than up, if it stabilized when you expected it to increase after a Fairness Act restoration, there is a meaningful probability that you are in this category. The document you need is a written correction statement to your local Social Security field office that includes your current pension amount verified by your pension administrator, a copy of your most recent pension statement showing the actual monthly amount, and a written request for a benefit recalculation review under the Social Security Fairness Act implementation. That letter, combined with the pension documentation, triggers a mandatory review that pauses any incorrect reduction while the agency verifies the correct amount. Let me make every one of these threats real for you with a story. Margaret is 68 years old. She lives in Springfield, Illinois. She spent 31 years as a high school English teacher in the Springfield Unified School District. She retired in 2021 at age 63 and began collecting her Illinois Teachers Retirement System pension, $2,100 per month. She waited until age 66 to file for Social Security, which was her full retirement age, and her calculated Social Security benefit was $1,640 per month. Because her teacher's pension came from a non-covered employer, her Social Security benefit was subject to the WEP reduction. The reduction in her case was $412 per month, bringing her actual Social Security payment to $1,228 per month. Her total monthly income was $3,328, comfortable enough for her mortgage-free home and her modest retirement lifestyle. When the Social Security Fairness Act passed in January 2024, Margaret was told, correctly, that her WEP reduction would be eliminated. In March 2025, the Social Security Administration began processing her Fairness Act restoration and sent her a letter requesting income verification. The letter arrived at her previous address. She had moved 6 months earlier. She never received it. In September 2025, the Social Security Administration made a default determination on Margaret's file. Using pension records from the Illinois Teachers Retirement System that had not been updated since 2021, the agency calculated her pension at $2,240 per month, $240 higher than her actual amount because it did not account for a cost of living freeze in the Illinois TRS during 2022 and 2023. Based on that incorrect pension figure, the agency calculated a partial WEP reduction of $380 per month rather than eliminating it entirely as the Fairness Act required. Margaret's October 2025 Social Security payment arrived at $1,148, essentially unchanged from before the Fairness Act restoration she had been expecting. She assumed the restoration was still being processed. She waited. November came, same amount. December, same amount. In January 2026, Margaret finally called the Social Security Administration. She was told that her file showed a verified pension amount of $2,340 per month and that the Fairness Act restoration had been calculated accordingly. When she told the representative her pension was actually $2,100 per month, she was told she would need to submit documentation to dispute the figure. Margaret's daughter found a retiree advocacy organization online that helped her prepare the correct documentation: a current pension statement from the Illinois TRS, a written correction letter, and a formal request for recalculation under the Fairness Act Implementation Protocol. Margaret submitted those documents in February 2026. The Social Security Administration completed its review in April 2026. Her benefit was restored to the correct Fairness Act amount, $1,640 per month, WEP eliminated entirely, effective May 2026. She received a retroactive payment covering October 2025 through April 2026, 7 months of reduced payments, approximately $2,644 in withheld benefits. Margaret recovered, but she spent 7 months receiving $392 less per month than she was legally entitled to, not because of anything she did wrong, but because a letter went to an old address, an income verification went unanswered, and the Social Security Administration made a default assumption that was incorrect. Margaret's situation is not rare. The same documentation failure is playing out right now in tens of thousands of retiree files across every state that has a significant public employee pension system. And the August 2026 payment cycle is when the bulk of those default determinations are scheduled to convert into permanent benefit calculations, unless the affected retirees file corrections before July 31st. Let me walk you through the fourth threat, the one that connects all three of the others and determines whether you even know a problem is happening before it is too late. Every one of the threats I have described, the WEP recalculation notice, the overpayment recovery notice, the Fairness Act income verification letter, is delivered by mail to the address the Social Security Administration has on file for you. And every one of the 90-day appeal windows, the 30-day waiver filing windows, and the recalculation request periods starts running the moment that letter is mailed. Not the moment you receive it, not the moment you read it, the moment it is sent. If the Social Security Administration has an outdated mailing address for you, a letter is sent, a clock starts running, and you never know it happened until your check is already reduced. This is not a hypothetical. The Social Security Administration's own data shows that approximately 4.2 million beneficiaries have mailing addresses on file that differ from their actual current addresses, either because the beneficiary moved and did not update the agency, or because the agency's address update system failed to process a change correctly. The fix is simple, but it must be done before July. Log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov My Account and verify 3 things right now. First, confirm that your mailing address is current and exactly correct. Not just the street and city, but the apartment number, the zip code, every character. Second, confirm that your direct deposit bank account and routing number are current. Third, confirm there are no pending notices, alerts, or flags on your account dashboard. The My Social Security portal will show you any pending actions on your file. Most retirees never look at the dashboard. They only look at their deposit amount. That is the gap that allows notices to expire unread. Here are the 5 protection moves every retiree needs to execute before July 31st. Protection move number 1. Log into ssa.gov My Account today and verify your mailing address, your direct deposit information, and your account dashboard for any pending actions. If you have never set up a My Social Security online account, do it today. The account requires identity verification, but takes less than 20 minutes. Without it, you are receiving benefit information by mail with no real-time visibility into what the agency is doing to your file. Protection move number 2. If you receive a government pension from any employer that did not withhold Social Security taxes, any state or local government job, any federal job before 1984, any school district, police department, fire department, or municipal employer, request your current Social Security earnings record using Form SSA 7004 and compare it to your actual work history. If there are discrepancies in the years listed as covered versus non-covered employment, file a written correction with your local Social Security field office before July 31st. That correction creates the paper trail that protects you if the WEP recalculation wave touches your file. Protection move number 3. Contact your pension administrator, the institution that manages your government pension, and request a current official pension statement that shows your actual monthly benefit amount as of June 2026. Do not use last year's statement. Get a current one. Keep it. If the Social Security Administration ever sends you a benefit calculation that uses an incorrect pension figure, that current statement is the documentation that corrects it. Protection move number 4. If you have received any communication from the Social Security Administration in the last 90 days that you did not fully read and respond to, any letter, any notice, any form request, locate that communication today and call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 to determine whether a response deadline is approaching. Even a routine-looking letter may have triggered a clock that is already running. Protection move number 5. Write down the following 3 form numbers and keep them somewhere accessible. SSA 561, which is the request for reconsideration. File this to challenge any benefit reduction or overpayment determination you believe is incorrect. SSA 632, which is the request for waiver of overpayment recovery. File this if you receive an overpayment notice and the overpayment was not your fault. SSA 634, which is the request for change in repayment rate. File this if an overpayment recovery is proceeding and you need to reduce the monthly withholding amount from 50% to a lower rate. These 3 forms are the legal tools available to every retiree facing a benefit reduction. Almost no retiree has been told they exist. You now know. Now let me share one bonus move that almost no retiree has ever been told about, and it pairs directly with every threat I have described in this video. It is the concurrent filing strategy, and it is the difference between having 1 line of defense and having 3. When a retiree receives a benefit reduction notice of any kind, a WEP recalculation, an overpayment recovery, a Fairness Act correction that went wrong, The instinct is to respond to the specific notice with the specific form it requests. File SSA 561 if you disagree. File SSA 632 if you want a waiver. File SSA 634 if you want a lower repayment rate. What almost no retiree knows is that you can file all three simultaneously. You are not required to choose one. You can challenge the underlying determination with SSA 561, simultaneously request a full waiver with SSA 632, and simultaneously request a reduced recovery rate with SSA 634, all in the same envelope on the same day, within the same filing window. Filing all three does two things. First, it covers every possible outcome. If the reconsideration succeeds, the overpayment is eliminated. If the waiver is granted, the recovery is waived regardless of whether the reconsideration succeeded. If neither of those is fully granted, the rate reduction ensures your check is only reduced by 10% instead of 50%. Second, filing all three simultaneously signals to the Social Security Administration that you are a retiree who knows your rights and is exercising them completely, which, in my experience inside finance working with agency systems, tends to accelerate review timelines. One envelope, three forms, all filed the same day. That is the bonus move. Let me be direct about what happens if you take no action before July 31st. If you are in the WEP recalculation group, if you worked in public employment in any of the 8 states I named, if you have a government pension, if your Social Security benefit was supposed to increase under the Fairness Act, and you have not verified your file, the August payment cycle may deliver a benefit amount that reflects the agency's default assumptions rather than your actual entitlement. And once that default calculation is locked into your record, correcting it takes an average of 4 to 7 months. If you are in the overpayment recovery group, if your income or living situation changed at any point between 2021 and 2024, if you had a period of concurrent benefits, if you received any retroactive payment, and an overpayment notice arrives in June or July without you acting within 30 days, the 50% recovery begins automatically. Your check drops by $900. Your mortgage does not care. Your pharmacy does not care. The calendar does not stop.